So as I'm sure most of you guys know by now, I bought this iMac back in November of 2016, and ever since then it has been my daily go-to for video editing. As you can probably see, since 2016 I have upgraded my screens. I've now got matching 27-inch Samsung 1440p displays, and I also upgraded the keyboard to a Corsair K95 Platinum XT, and the mouse at some point, I believe in 2017, got upgraded to a Logitech MX Master 2S, and I added the space gray trackpad to the left of the keyboard to make video editing just a little bit easier. As I said, guys, this thing has been an absolute workhorse for me ever since I bought it back in 2016, but today is finally the last day it will be in service, and I will be replacing it with this. But before I can do that, I need to take all of this stuff out of the boxes. So we're gonna start off this unboxing with this MacBook Pro right here, and if you take a look at the back of it, this is the 16-inch space gray with the 12-core CPU, 38-core GPU, 96 gigabytes of RAM, and an 8TB SSD. This is the most expensive and highest-end MacBook that Apple sells, and hopefully it'll be a pretty solid upgrade from that iMac that I've been using ever since 2016. And there she is. So we're gonna go ahead and set the actual MacBook off to the side for just a second here and look at the not many accessories that it comes with. We have our usual pamphlets up here. I wonder if they still include Apple stickers. I actually haven't unboxed a brand new MacBook since 2013. It's been a long time. So we got a little quick start guide is what this looks like right here. Yep. FCC warnings as usual. Oh, and they're black Apple stickers. Look at that. Very cool. I'm sure you guys know that Apple used to always just include these white Apple stickers with their products, but it looks like they have black ones with this MacBook Pro now. And they look pretty nice. I actually really like the way that looks. We have our charge brick. This is actually a pretty giant charge brick they included with this thing here. And they wrap it in paper now instead of plastic. Check that out. It's a, I believe, yeah, this is a 140 watt USB-C power adapter right here. And it's quite a bit bigger than any of the other charge bricks I've had for a MacBook before. And another thing that I was really happy to see them bring back was MagSafe. This is the MagSafe 3 cable they include with it. And it's very slightly color matched. It's kind of space gray looking, but it realistically just looks white, especially on the USB-C end here. Check that out. They package it nicely as they do with, you know, all of their products. But yeah, it's a braided cable. Looks pretty nice. Maybe if I could figure out how to pull the middle out. There we go. So there's that. There's the USB-C end right here. This is the new MagSafe 3 end. It's more of a it's more of an oval than the older ones were. The older ones were pretty much just like rectangles, but this one's more rounded off at the edges here. So it's time for the big one, guys. This is the MacBook Pro itself. I spent $7,000 on this thing. So yeah, as you can see, they also wrapped these things in paper. When I bought the 13-inch one back in 2013, they wrapped them in plastic. But let's go ahead and set this thing upside down, pull the tab. Still a solid experience as it was with plastic. And there's the MacBook itself. I think these still turn on as soon as you open the lid. So let's go ahead and give this thing its first boot up ever. Yep, and there you go. The first boot up ever of my brand new $7,000 laptop. We have the blacked out background of the keyboard, which I wish they would just make the entire MacBook that color because that looks a lot nicer than space gray does in my opinion. 120 Hz refresh rate display. We have a notch now because it's Apple and they just throw notches on all their displays now. They took away the touch bar, which is kind of unfortunate because I actually did really like the touch bar, but we have our standard function keys back now, and we do of course still have Touch ID on the power button. So let's go ahead and get into setting this thing up, guys. We're gonna go ahead and select English for our language. And of course the United States is the country. We'll worry about the accessibility stuff later. Go ahead and get this thing on the Wi-Fi. The keyboard feels very nice. It feels similar to the one on my Touch Bar MacBook Pro. It's not quite as much travel as the one on the old 15-inch Retina display MacBook I had, but it's far, far better than the butterfly keyboard they tried. So here's the part where we get to migrate from an old Mac or a PC, and I actually do have a time machine backup from the iMac that we're going to be restoring from. So we're gonna go ahead and plug in our braided MagSafe 3 charger right here. It's just like I remember it. It's very, very nice that they brought that back. As I'm sure you guys know, on the generation prior to this, all they give you is USB-C and a headphone jack. That's it. Now, one issue with this new MacBook Pro is they still didn't give us back normal USB, so I have this this $30 adapter right here to be able to plug in a normal USB device. So we're gonna go ahead and plug that in right to this Thunderbolt port on the side, and then plug in my time machine to it. And we should see it show up on the screen right here. I do have a time machine on the network as well, but I feel like it's gonna be faster just doing it over USB from this drive. And this is also a more up-to-date backup of the iMac either way, so that's what we're gonna be restoring from. So we're gonna go ahead and select the 5K iMac backup and hit continue. Hopefully this won't take too terribly long. I've only got about 1 terabyte of stuff on that iMac, so we'll see how long it takes. I've actually never set up a MacBook, or any Mac for that matter, from a time machine backup. So we're gonna select all of the, just everything from the iMac. We got system and network, files and folders, my user, and then the applications folder. And now we're transferring from the time machine disk onto this new MacBook Pro. I'm kind of worried that this is gonna take a long time, but we're gonna have to just wait and see. It's been sitting on this preparing to transfer user documents for a little bit now, so I think the best way to do the rest of this unboxing is to just let this finish doing its thing in the background while I unbox the rest of the new stuff that I got for this setup. And we're gonna do that by starting off with this Thunderbolt 4 dock that I picked up. This is a CalDigit. I'm honestly really not sure how to pronounce the name, but either way, it's the TS4 Thunderbolt 4 station, or Thunderbolt Station 4 as it says right here. This thing has a million billion ports on it that all just go through the one Thunderbolt cable, and also can charge the MacBook, which is great because having less cables going across my desk is something that I've needed for quite a long time now. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the little pull tab on the back here, lift up the lid, and we're presented with it right at the top right here. We're gonna go ahead and set this off to the side for just a second to see what else it came with. Looks like the inside of this box kind of lifts up, in theory. Yeah, there we go. So this looks like 2 pieces of rubber that you would put on the corners of the actual Thunderbolt dock itself. Not sure if I'm going to be using those, but we also have a Thunderbolt 4 cable included, which is great because these cables are very, very expensive if you buy them separately. We also have our IEC power cable and a gigantic, I believe this is a 200 watt power brick. And there's the rest of the plastic off of it. Hopefully you guys can read this, but right here it does say this is a 230 watt power adapter, which is quite a bit of power to be coming out of one of these, but it makes sense considering what is on, you know, this device right here. We're just gonna rip right into it. All right, and there it is. It's made out of metal. Feels pretty nice. It's got a good heft to it. Now on the front here, we're looking at 2 USB-C ports for data and charging, and right here we have a normal USB-A port and also a combo headphone jack. This supports the 4-pole ones in case you have a headset that's got a mic on it. And we also have a SD and micro SD slot built right into it, which is very nice. Then coming around to the back, we have our 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port, 4 more USB-As. This is the Thunderbolt port that connects to the computer, 2 more downstream Thunderbolt ports. We have a line in, a headphone jack, another USB-C port, and a display port. This is a 1.4 display port. And this is of course where you plug in the gigantic power supply for this thing. Now the reason this thing needs so much power is because it can push, I believe it said 100 watts, or maybe it's only 98 out to the laptop that's plugged into it. And it also needs to, you know, give power to all the USB devices and all the Thunderbolt devices that you might plug into it. Yeah, there you go. There's the Thunderbolt 4 dock. Here's our Thunderbolt cable right here. It's not super, super long. It's maybe about 2.5 or 3 feet, but for the way I'm gonna have my desk set up, this should be more than plenty, and you guys will see that in a video coming out on Monday. So the last thing we have to look at for this setup is the displays I bought. Now I did buy 3 of these. These are Dell 32-inch curved 4K displays. They've got a contrast ratio of 3000 to 1, which isn't too terrible for an LCD display, and they were also only like 300 bucks a piece, which is pretty solid for a 32-inch 4K display. Either way though, I'm only gonna be unboxing 1 for this video just for the sake of time, but we're gonna go ahead and get this thing open. So this thing just about takes up my entire table that I have down here, but we're gonna go ahead and pull the box open just like that. Let the front come down. And we're greeted with some cardboard. So let's look at the cables it comes with. Right here we have a USB 3.0 cable. This is for the hub it comes with. Maybe if the camera would focus on it. Come on, Bubby. There you go. Yep, USB connector for the built-in hub on this display. We also have an HDMI cord, just full-size normal HDMI on each side, and the power cable. This looks like part of the stand right here, and it definitely is. So this is the foot for the stand. It's made of metal. It's got a good amount of weight to it. And under the first piece of cardboard, we have the actual display itself. So let's take the rest of the stand out first. So this is the rest of the stand. This is what attaches to the back of the monitor and then onto the foot over here. So I think the best course of action is to pick the screen up out of the box, kind of hold it, and get the box off the table. So looking at the screen, I don't know that 32-inch displays were the best idea for this setup, but you know what, it's gonna be okay. I'm sure I'm gonna figure out a way to make them fit on my desk. Let's go ahead and take this thing out of its styrofoam here. Very nice, look at that. So this is your standard 16 by 9 aspect ratio for your 4K. The resolution, of course, is 3840 by 2160. So it looks like for the stand, you kind of just stick this in here, and then there's there's a screw on the bottom, kind of like a tripod screw. And there's the stand, all assembled all nice. And we'll take the monitor and snap it onto the stand just like that. All right, yeah, that's pretty simple. Giant monitors, I've never had monitors this big before. The previous setup had 3 27-inch displays, and now I'm going up to 3 32-inch displays. But they look pretty nice. I've also never had curved displays on my desk before, but there you go. I'm not too big on the fact that the back of these displays are white, but it's the back, so it doesn't really make that much of a difference. So we might have a little issue restoring from this time machine backup. As you guys can see, it says we've got 35 hours remaining, and it just keeps going up, which is never a good thing. But what I will say about the restore process on that MacBook is that when I bought this one not too long ago, I restored all of the data directly from the 15-inch MacBook Pro that I bought back in 2021. It roughly gave me the same time estimate for the transfer, but it only took about an hour, and that was wirelessly just between the two MacBooks. So I'm hoping that, you know, doing it wired directly from a time machine backup will be a little bit faster, but we're just gonna have to wait to find out. So it's now 2:53 in the morning, and as you guys can see, the restore from the time machine backup has finally been completed. So to finish this video off, we're gonna go ahead and sign into this thing and get it set up the rest of the way. As this is the first login, it's gonna sit on the login screen for just a little bit after I put in the password, and here we go. So we're gonna go ahead and set up our accessibility settings later, as we did earlier in this video. I'm not sure why it's asking me again. And now's the fun part where I get to sign into my Apple ID. Getting the iCloud account set up, that was a pretty easy process for that. As I've said, it's been almost 10 years since I've bought a brand new MacBook, but I have bought a couple other new Macs since then. I bought the iMac and the Mac Mini and a couple MacBook Pros, although those were secondhand. I did still have to go through the setup process, but this is my first time ever setting up a Mac of any kind on anything later than macOS Catalina. We're gonna go ahead and not share any analytics with Apple, and we will go ahead and use Firewall disk encryption. That's pretty important. One thing I didn't mention, the reason I bought an 8TB MacBook Pro is because I'm gonna be changing up the way that I store and edit my videos just a little bit. Previously with the iMac, it only had a 2TB built-in Fusion drive, which isn't much for video production stuff, so I would store everything externally and edit off of these Western Digital MyBook hard drives, and they're not very fast. That was the other bottleneck I had with the iMac. What I'm going to be doing with this thing is storing everything internally on the built-in 8TB SSD for the entire year. So for the rest of 2023, everything is going to be stored on this, and then at the end of every year, it'll be getting dumped onto external hard drives for long-term archival. Hopefully that all made sense. Now we're going to go ahead and set up Touch ID. And as you guys probably know by now, I know I'm really late to the game getting a MacBook that has Touch ID, but it's pretty much exactly the same as it is setting it up on an iPhone. Go ahead and get the edges of my finger in here. And there you go, there's Touch ID. And here we are on the desktop. So as you can see, we have some leftover icons on the desktop, and we just got a flood of notifications saying a new device was added to my account. Not really sure why that happened. I actually see my other MacBook back there letting me know that I just signed into this on the Apple ID, but I don't know why we got this flood of notifications here. That's kind of interesting. So as you can see right here, it says it is optimizing my Mac. Performance and battery life may be affected until completed. So that's okay, we'll just close that. And we'll move the internal SSD icon up here. And what I was trying to say earlier is these are shortcuts to servers that I used to have that I just never took off of one of the secondary desktops on the iMac. Looks like I need to install the driver for my, my printer upstairs, but everything else is here, so that's good. It's interesting they changed the Minecraft logo. It doesn't look like that on any of my other machines. Let's check the storage on the hard drive here, or the SSD. So we've got 8 terabytes total and 7.39 terabytes available. That is very, very nice. I also just realized I can unplug my backup drive here. Set that off to the side because we're done with it for now. So yeah, this is the new MacBook, guys. So there's a couple of little design things that I have complaints about. The main one being that the Apple logo doesn't light up anymore, and I know they stopped doing that in 2016, but it was a nice touch that the older MacBooks had, and I wish they would bring it back. As always, the hinge is like perfectly weighted. It feels solid in my hands right here. I'm very, very happy that they gave us MagSafe back, as I said earlier in the video. And I'm also happy that they gave us back the internal SD card slot and the HDMI port. The issue is though, there's still no USB Type A, which means I'm gonna have to carry one of these things around with me whenever I take this thing out to a video shoot with me, which will not be very often because this was, as I said, $7,000. And I don't trust myself to carry it around with me very often. But there will of course be times where I need to edit something super heavy on site, and for that, I can just unplug that Thunderbolt dock, pick this thing up, and have my entire Final Cut library with me, which is awesome. I've never been able to do that before. The 120 Hz refresh rate display is awesome. This is the first generation of MacBooks that has that. We've had it on the iPhone ever since I believe the iPhone 13 Pro, but to finally have it on a MacBook is awesome. I'm noticing something I've never noticed with any of my other laptops, and that is that my stainless steel watch band right here is actually sticking to the magnets in this thing, which is kind of just a little bit annoying when I'm trying to type on the keyboard, but yeah, you can kind of see it grabbing it right there. But as I said, this is going to live most of its life on my desk connected to that Corsair K95 Platinum XT and the MX Master and all that good stuff. So it's not going to be that big of an issue, but it is something I wanted to mention just in case you guys have this Apple Watch and you're planning on buying one of these MacBooks. It'll stick right about here, which is interesting. You know what? That's actually probably a speaker. That's probably one of the speakers in there. So there you go. So let me answer a couple questions that I'm sure I'm going to get in the comments about this purchase right here. Why a laptop? Why buy a MacBook if it's just going to spend most of its life sitting on my desk? Now here's the deal. Originally I wanted to buy a Mac Studio. I was holding out for the M2 Ultra and I was trying to edit on the iMac and it just kept hanging and doing the little pinwheel thing, and I was like, all right, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm not going to wait for M2 Ultra anymore, so I bought this MacBook Pro with the M2 Max all the way maxed out. And that was on May 26th when I placed that order, and as I'm sure you guys know, on Monday during WWDC they announced the M2 Ultra Max Studio. So all I had to do was wait another week and a half and I could have had what I wanted, but here we are with the MacBook Pro. Now it's not all bad though. As I said earlier, the advantage of having a MacBook like this is the fact that if I ever need to take a powerful machine with me somewhere to edit videos, the Indiana trip would be a great example. I would have loved to have one of these the last time we were out there. All I have to do is just unplug the Thunderbolt dock and pick it up, and I have my entire Final Cut library for the year, all my footage, all my templates, everything I need to make a video right here in this laptop, which again is something I've never been able to do, and it's very, very nice that I have that ability now. The other advantage is the built-in display on this thing. As I mentioned, it's a high refresh rate, you know, Liquid Retina XDR or whatever they call it. I believe it's Liquid Retina XDR, but the main benefit here is this is a mini LED display that's capable of accurately playing back HDR content. And that's something I wouldn't be able to get with the Mac Studio without buying Apple's really expensive Pro Display XDR or another HDR certified monitor for editing HDR content. This MacBook has one built right in. So when I need to edit an HDR video, which I plan to do more of now that I have the display to properly color grade HDR content on. Instead of just having to guess and estimate the tone mapping with the color scopes, I can just edit it properly on this MacBook display, which is awesome. There you go, guys. That is it for the unboxing of the first brand new MacBook I've bought since the end of 2013. If you want to go watch that horrendous video, hit the card. Don't say I didn't warn you. It's very, very bad, but what are you gonna do? I was 13 at the time. As I said earlier in the video, come back on Monday. I'll be releasing a video setting this thing up, getting the old iMac off the desk and clearing everything off of the desk and completely redoing everything because you guys will see on Monday it needs it really, really bad. But until then, guys, that is gonna be it for this video. It's really good to be getting back to YouTube after that 3-month break I took. We're hopefully gonna be getting back to regular content pretty soon here. But until the next video, guys, hope you enjoyed it, and as always, thank you for watching.